What's up guys, shinyhunterzach here, back with another PTCGO battle video and deck analysis. I haven't done one of these in a while, but with Phantom Forces now out, I thought I would go ahead and run down some decks that I've seen and that I've come up with that I think will be kind of fun to play with in the new format. So this one is more of a fun deck. This is Night March. This revolves around the 3 Pokemon from Phantom Forces that have the attack Night March, and they are Joltik, which has a 2 colorless attack for Night March. Night March does 20 damage times the number of Pokemon in your discard pile that have the Night March attack. So we have Joltik, we play 4 of those. Then we have Lampent. Lampent costs a Psychic and 2 colorless. So we just use Lampent in this deck for discarding to power up the other Pokemon's Night March. We don't even run Litwick in this deck to get Lampent out, because it costs more than Joltik and Pumpkaboo. So, well, it actually costs the same as Pumpkaboo, but Pumpkaboo has a colorless there instead of a Psychic. So we don't play this. We don't play the Litwick. We just play this to discard. And then the third one, of course, is Pumpkaboo. I really like this artwork, and this one has a Night March attack cost of 3 colorless. So the version I am playing is the Gourgeist Celebi version. Now, Gourgeist has a really cool ability that says if this Pokemon has any grass energy attached to it, its maximum HP is 200 instead of 100. So that is huge. That's more than most regular EXs. In fact, pretty much all regular EXs. It would have to be a Mega or something for it to be 200. And that is just a huge amount of HP, very daunting for any Pokemon pretty much to knock out. So it has an okay attack as well. Horror Note does 10 damage times the number of cards in your hand for a Psychic and 2 colorless, but most of the time we're still going to be using Night March. Now you might be asking, how can we use Night March if we evolve into Gourgeist? Gourgeist doesn't have the attack Night March. Well, that's where the Celebi EX comes in. Celebi EX was printed in Boundaries Crossed, and it has the ability Time Recall, which says that each of your evolved Pokemon can use any attack from its previous evolutions. So that means Gourgeist can use Night March. Now 3 for the attack cost is still pretty high, so that is why we use the trainer, or the trainer stadium card Dimension Valley. Dimension Valley says each Psychic Pokemon's attacks, both yours and your opponent's, cost 1 colorless less. So that means Night March on Pumpkaboo is only going to cost 2 colorless energy. So that is very manageable. Now with 200 HP and a Gourgeist with Celebi up, your opponent, if they are not playing any dark Pokemon, because Gourgeist is weak to dark, is going to have a hard time knocking it out. So that is why we play Gourgeist. Then of course you can also use Joltik if you're facing something that's weak to lightning, like Yveltal or Lugia. Keep in mind though, these things do have 30 HP, so it's very likely that once you attack with Joltik, you are likely going to get knocked out the next turn. But this one again only has a Night March attack cost of 2. Then we run Mr. Mime, one of this, for the bench barrier ability, prevent all damage done to your benched Pokemon by attacks. That prevents your low HP Pokemon like Joltik and Pumpkaboo, which only has 60, and even Celebi, which only has 110, which is low for an EX, from getting hit by bench damage. We also play one Virizion. We are running Grass Energy, so this ability, Verdant Wind, will prevent any Pokemon with Grass Energy from being hit with a special condition. Sometimes, if you start with it, you might also use it for Emerald Slash to get 2 Grass Energy from your deck and attach them to one of your Pokemon, likely a Pumpkaboo or a Gourgeist if you have it out. Onto the trainers, we have 3 of these Battle Compressor. These are going to be pretty much the heart of the deck, and I might even suggest running 4 if you can find the room. Search your deck for up to 3 cards and discard them. So this is how we're going to get our Night March Pokemon into the discard pile early on. To find Battle Compressor, we also run 3 Skyla to search our deck for a trainer card and put it into our hand. So we can search our deck for a Battle Compressor turn 1 if we don't have this in our hand, but we have a Skyla, and we can start discarding Pokemon that have Night March. You're probably going to want to start with Lampent, because Lampent can't even attack or be put down on the field. So I would get those out of the way first. We also run 4N, just kind of a standard supporter to put in your deck, as well as 2 Lysander. This is going to help you get Pokemon from the bench that you really want knocked out. If there's a Pokemon on the bench with a lot of energy, or if there's something that you see as a big threat in the future, you want to bring this thing out and take it out with a Night March as soon as possible. We also run one Versus Seeker to get back any of these supporters. For Juniper is also pretty standard. We run that. That's going to also help us discard our Night March Pokemon. Then our Ace Spec is Dowsing Machine. Discard 2 cards from your hand. Hopefully those are Night March Pokemon. And put a trainer card back into our into our hand. So this can be anything from a supporter to a Dimension Valley to a Versus Seeker to Ultra Ball to any of these trainers. Then we also have a Muscle Band and 2 Silver Bangle. We have 2 Silver Bangle in here to hit EXs. This can be attached to any non-EX Pokemon, and it can hit any active EX Pokemon for 30 additional damage. And then we also have a Muscle Band because this can hit any Pokemon for an additional 20 damage. You might even switch this around and do 2 Muscle Band, 1 Silver Bangle. We run 1 Professor's Letter to get out our Basic Energy. Search your deck for 2 Basic Energy and put them into your hand. Our Basic Energy count for this deck is 6 Grass, so we can get Gourgeist's ability up, and 1 Psychic, just in case we ever want to use Horror Note. We also run 3 DCE. We could up that to 4, but with Enhanced Hammer coming back and with Drift Blim running around in some decks, it's going to be pretty risky or devastating to play a lot of Special Energy. So we also run 1 Switch as well as 1 Escape Rope, so we can switch around from these Pokemon. They generally have a 1 or 2 retreat cost, but Gourgeist does have a 3. So if a Gourgeist gets trapped and doesn't have any energy on it or anything, you may want to switch it out. 3 Ultra Ball is also going to help us discard Night March Pokemon and get Pokemon like Pumpkaboo or Celebi into our hand and onto our bench. So that's really helpful. And that about does it for the deck. Let's go ahead and get into a match here. So this is actually a match against my friend Mac from the Rockets Game Corner. I will go ahead and leave a link to their channel in the description below. I appear to be going first, very nice, and my opponent is using the same awesome Mega Gengar sleeves as I am. Now, in looking at my opponent's mulligan hand, I see some interesting cards, Super Scoop Up and Dimensional Valley, but that does also allow me to get another draw here because my opponent didn't have a basic. I start off with a Pumpkaboo, which is pretty nice, as well as a Virizion, so any statuses aren't going to affect any of my Pokemon with a Grass Energy. Thankfully, I get a Grass Energy onto my Pumpkaboo. I also have a Gourgeist in my hand, so I can evolve next turn if my opponent does not end me. I decided to just get a supporter here because I don't have another one in my hand besides that Skyla. I can Ultra Ball away another Ultra Ball and a Lampent, so that's my first Night March Pokemon in the discard pile. And I debate here whether to get a Pumpkaboo or a Celebi. Now with Celebi, I can start using Night March next turn, but I'm sort of fearful that my opponent can knock me out somehow this coming turn. And I probably should have grabbed the Celebi in hindsight, but I went for the safer play and just grabbed another Pumpkaboo. So at least if my opponent doesn't disrupt my hand, I am going to be able to get a Gourgeist out with 200 HP. So you can see here my opponent is playing Gengar EX and Duskull. So first thing he's going to do is attach a Psychic Energy to that Gengar, and then he puts down a Zubat. And I'm sort of wondering what this deck is going to be. Maybe something with Crobat, Dusknoir, and Gengar to spread damage around, and then use Dusknoir to move all the damage onto one of my Pokemon. So I do get another energy on. If I get a Celebi, I'll be able to Night March, but no, I don't. I do get the Mr. Mime to block bench damage, but unfortunately I have no way to use Night March. So that's really unfortunate. I don't even have a supporter in my hand for next turn, but I have a Dimension Valley, so now my attacks can be used without any or with 1 less energy, but unfortunately that also works in my opponent's favor because all of his Pokemon are also Psychic. So in situations like that, it's pretty tough to decide whether I want to put that down and help myself as well as my opponent, or just not play it down at all. So my opponent here does get a Sycamore for 7 cards. He gets the Golbat, whose ability allows him to put 2 damage counters onto one of my Pokemon. I believe it goes on the active in this case, which is Gourgeist. So my Gourgeist already has 50 damage on it, but because I have that Grass Energy on there, I still have 200 HP. He's going to get another Zubat out with this Ultra Ball, and we'll be able to start putting a Golbat down, and then Crobat. The Super Scoop Up in his deck allows him to get all of the Pokemon off and then start evolving again to use Crobat's ability and Golbat's ability to put damage counters onto my field without attacking. And then once he gets Dusknoir out, he'll be able to spread that damage around. So the only supporter I get is Lysander. I try to stall him out here and just hit the Duskull up to the active and hope that he doesn't have an energy or a switch. He does, however, get the rare candy into Crobat. As you can see there, for a split second, it does 3 damage counters to me when I get when it gets put into play. And he actually plays the Team Flare card Headringer, which can only be attached to Pokemon EX, which makes it so that their energy cost for their attacks is 1 more. So if it's 2, it's now 3. But that's not really going to affect me since I don't plan on using my Virizion this game. I actually get double Lysander top decks, so once again I'm going to Lysander up his Duskull, hoping to leave him out there in the active so that I don't get hurt by Gengar. He is going to Versus Seeker for a Colress here. That will give him a fresh hand of 7 cards. And actually gets the Psychic Energy. He told me later that he only plays 2 Psychic Energy in his entire deck, and he not only had one in his opening hand, but got one there to be able to retreat the Duskull. So now he is going to, I believe, Ultra Ball here, probably getting out another Golbat or maybe a Crobat to put even more damage onto my Gourgeist. I believe it has 140 or maybe 130, I can't really tell, HP on it right now. So it is very, very close to being knocked out. So I am in danger here. That's the only energy I have on the field, and there goes my Gourgeist. So unfortunately, I have to put up my Virizion to kind of stall here. The only purpose it serves is to protect my Pokemon with Grass Energy from special conditions. I do get a Grass Energy, so my Gourgeist on the bench now has 200 HP as well. But I still don't have a supporter. I have been waiting and waiting and waiting for a supporter for turns now. And sometimes this will just happen to you in games. You will have times where you play a bunch of supporters, but none of them seem to be in your hand, and you are relying on top decks to get yourself out of a bad situation. Thankfully, my opponent's deck really just revolves around evolving Pokemon, and he's not putting down a bunch of energy in preparation to just run through all of my Pokemon. But now this Gourgeist already has 50 damage on it. Thankfully, I draw my 1 Versus Seeker in the deck, get back my Professor Juniper. Before I do that, I am going to Escape Rope to get my Virizion back on the bench and my Gourgeist to the active. And I will Juniper, looking for a DCE so I can attack, and a Celebi as well, but I don't get one. Actually, with those 2 grass, I would have been able to attack with the Celebi, but I cannot. And this is just as slow a start as you can get. My opponent is very set up. They have all 4 Zubats in play. They actually have 2 Crobat. They have a Duskull for later in the game when they can put out Dusknoir. And they have a Gengar also spreading damage. So I am in a lot of trouble here. Trying to knock out one of my Pokemon is this Crobat. This Crobat comes active and is able to attack because of that Dimension Valley. I finally get to Skyla. I'm going to Ultra Ball here, discarding both Lampents, and finally get out a Celebi. It's about time. So now I can start using Night March. I don't think I have enough to take out the Crobat because Crobat is weak to Lightning and not Psychic. I believe I have enough to do either 100 or 120. It's 120 with the Muscle Band, but I have 5 Pokemon in my discard pile with Night March, so he is 10 HP from being knocked out. He does hit me with the N, which is going to help me because I have 6 prizes left, so that will give me 6 cards. And there goes another Headringer onto my other EX Pokemon, Celebi. Not that it really is going to make a difference in this matchup. I never attack with Celebi, so it's mainly just about Gourgeist. But I do have a Battle Compressor in my hands. I will be able to get more Night March Pokemon in the discard pile this turn, and all you can do is another 30 damage. So I can put down a grass energy as well if I want to, if I get another Pumpkaboo, but I don't really have a way to. So I'm just going to put it down on the Joltik in case I need to attack with it. I can Battle Compressor here for a Joltik, my last Lampen, I believe. And then I decide on whether putting that Joltik or that Pumpkaboo in the discard pile, but I end up deciding that it's more important that I have those Pokemon in case I need more attackers late in the game. So I just put 2 in the discard pile. I mean, this Crobat only has 10 HP left on it, so it will go down either way. I end up using Dowsing Machine, getting rid of my other Celebi for a Juniper. And look, there are all my supporters. There's a Juniper, 3 Ns, and a bunch of my energy. So I'm going to hit a big Night March for 160, take my first prize of the game, and now it looks like we are tied at 1 prize taken apiece. So this is a pretty difficult matchup for both of us. Both of us are mainly knocking out one Pokemon, non-EX Pokemon, I should say, at a time. So it's very possible we will have to take 5 Pokemon or even all 6 Pokemon out and just draw 1 prize at a time. So he's going to leave a Zubat active. He is able to switch it out though for a Gengar and use its attack to place 3 damage counters on my Joltik, knocking it out. That's unfortunate, but at least my Gourgeist is still safe. And I debate whether to play N here because I do have a huge hand, but I also don't want my opponent having very many resources. I do have another Joltik here. That's why I wanted to keep that in my deck so I could attack with it. And even if my opponent targets it down with Gengar, that just leaves my Gourgeist more room to attack. So I'm not really worried about that. I do get off a Night March for 180. That's just massive. And take down a Gengar EX. So there goes another 2 prizes for me. I now take the lead, and this Gourgeist that has a bunch of damage on it, it should have long been knocked out if not for the grass energy, is still in play. And he cannot poison me or anything if he decides to use Dark Corridor, although he doesn't have the energy for it. So I am looking all right here. It's really unfortunate that Mr. Mime does not block Gengar's first attack because he's just placing the damage counters on the bench Pokemon. He's not actually doing damage to the active and then damage to the bench. They're just damage counters, which is actually a difference. I do have a Pumpkaboo in my hand, so I also have a Gourgeist in the deck, which will allow me to possibly set up another Gourgeist later in the game. And I have a couple of supporters, so I am pretty well set here for the end of the game if I can just keep energy on the board. He is going to target down my Joltik again, just trying to take prizes, trying to beat me in the prize race, which I'm okay with. That will give me a turn to get a Pumpkaboo. I'm going to go ahead and use Battle Compressor, just checking to see if I want to take anything out of my deck. Battle Compressor is not only good for using for Night March, it's also good to take out things in your deck that you don't think you're going to use. So I end up taking out the last Pumpkaboo. I only have 1 Gourgeist left, so there's not really a point in keeping it around, especially because I don't have that much energy. And I hit a big Night March here for 220. This Gourgeist has taken so many prizes. It's knocked out both Gengars, and it has so much damage on it already. So it is doing all of the work here. You can tell how big 200 HP is in this matchup, and it will be that way in a lot of matchups. It will save you even sometimes by just 10 or 20 HP. So I'm very proud of this Gourgeist here. Just with the grass, 2 grass actually, and a Muscle Band, it is doing some serious work. My opponent gets another Juniper, so he will get a huge hand of 7 cards. I still have supporters in my hand though, so all of them were hiding from me in the beginning of the game and now have shown up for me in the late game. I can either Skyla for something like an Ultra Ball, although I don't have any energy right now. I might even just Juniper, hoping to get my Gourgeist and my DCE, some form of energy, hopefully a DCE. But for now, he is stuck with just a couple Zubats, the active Crobat, the Duskull, which I'm very surprised he still hasn't been able to get out into Dusknoir, and doesn't have any energy with which to attack me. Most of his attacking power is based on Golbat and Crobat's ability. So I am in a pretty solid state here. I just have 1 prize to take. although I kind of fear my opponent is going to stall me out as much as he can. He does get a rare candy into another Crobat, which will finally knock out this Gourgeist, and I am in a do or die situation here. I have to get Gourgeist out, I have to get energy on it, and I have to be able to Night March for the win. But it is tempting to put up another EX just to kind of stall, but I'm worried about having a way to switch back into my Gourgeist, and he just needs 2 prizes instead of 1. So I am hopeful that this Pumpkaboo will be able to evolve into Gourgeist and get an energy on it in the following turns. So I do get the Gourgeist and the energy. I actually didn't even need the Gourgeist. I just needed a DCE to be able to attack with Night March this turn, and I got it. I actually had to draw all of my remaining cards to get it, but that is the victory. I take it 6 prizes to 4, and that is the Night March deck. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Like and favorite the video and leave a comment below. Don't forget to go check out the Rockets Game Corners channel as well. And until next time, I will see you guys later.